Hello everyone, I am Danielle from Cage's Readings, so welcome back to this channel. This is my first pick a card I am doing since I went on vacation. So just reflecting a little bit before getting started here, I realized that this is probably the longest I've gone since starting this pick a card channel of not recording a pick a card reading or giving someone a card reading or doing a Reiki session or a sound bath. Like this is kind of weird for me. So I am feeling a little like out of it a little bit, but I wasn't gonna have this feeling be the one reason why I don't post a pick a card reading. So I figured you might as well just go for it, and this might not be the best card reading I ever do. Maybe it will be the best card reading I do. Who knows? We'll see when we get into it. Yeah. So wow, it's cool. It's 2:34 as I'm recording this. I like it when the numbers line up like that. I always think it's kind of fun. Anyways, a little like ungrounded and all over the place. I was on vacation with my grandma who has dementia, and it's been so fascinating to observe that to that extent, because I mean I hadn't lived with her. She lives in her own home, or I guess a retirement center, so there are other people there, but she does most of the stuff by herself. So it was just really kind of fascinating in the sense of being an observer to see what goes on there and the cycles, and also being someone who's into energy work. It was really interesting to be able to observe dementia from that viewpoint in someone. So I don't know, it was really interesting, but I have to admit, I did also realize that it almost seems like people with dementia kind of have all their stuff just hanging in their aura. So I don't know, if I feel like it's pretty common, if any of you have someone with dementia or know someone with dementia and you've been around them for a while, it's really easy to accidentally pick up some of their stuff, like their disfocus, their ungroundedness, their repetitiveness, their circulatory thinking, circulatory actions. It just really seems like everything's just, it's like almost like there's all these little programs that are just hanging around in their auras. And if we're naturally around people, we kind of pick up on people's energies. That it's just really easy to pick up on theirs. So I guess that's all what I'm trying to say. So it was kind of interesting, but I feel like I'm still feeling a little not like myself since trying to remember what it's like to be normal and grounded. So anyways, without further ado, I'm going to play a clip now if you would like to get grounded through sound before choosing your pile. If you're not interested in that, don't worry, you can just skip past it. And if you like to ground yourself in another way, you can always take a few deep breaths, or you can visualize roots coming down from your feet. But it is nice to get grounded so that you're nice and aligned and focused with your intuition before we get into these messages. Hello everyone. I am recording this so that before you choose a pile, you can get a quick chakra attunement and alignment. It is going just to be about 1 or 2 minutes long, really just quick, just to get you more balanced. I wanted to offer this because I know sometimes people have a hard time grounding themselves or feeling connected to their intuition, and that's usually why they're seeking out a card reading. So this was my solution. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so hopefully you're nice and grounded now. So I did choose to leave these archetype cards upright because I kept getting the vibe that a lot of us right now are pretty aware of the things we are trying to heal, what we're struggling with, what we're trying to work through, what challenges we're kind of faced with right now. So I just thought, why hide it? I'm just going to leave it out there because it will just make it easier for you to choose that card. And sorry, I wanted to do this card reading in the sun, but the sun keeps just perfectly moving every time I I started setting up. So I wonder if we're just going to be in the shadow of the sun here. But that might be appropriate for this card reading because I think it's really about, instead of hiding or running away from the shadow, really let's talk about it. So the breakdown of this card reading is we're going to be looking at, for the archetype cards, what you're kind of working through. And then I pulled some guidance cards. So what can you do right now to help yourself through this? And what is your body needing from yourself to heal through this? So it's not going to be an overly long card reading, but I'm hoping there will be some value here for you all. So pile 1 is going to be this card that says student. And it says humility, devotion to knowledge, openness to lifelong learning. And the shadow attributes: arrogance in pursuit of destructive knowledge, unwillingness to translate knowledge into action. Unwillingness to translate knowledge into action. That part is sticking out to me. Okay, pile 2, we have this goddess card. I really liked it when I saw this one turn over. It feels really beautiful. So it says, the feminine expressed through wisdom, nature, life force, and sensuality. The shadow attribute is exploitation of the female nature and form. Okay, and pile 3, we have child magical. And it says, light attributes: seeing the potential for sacred beauty in all things, the belief that everything is possible. And then for the shadow attribute, it says, I always have a hard time saying this word, pessimism, depression, disbelief in miracles, believing that energy and action are not required for growth. Apparently I have a hard time saying the shadow attribute of this card. Okay, so you have your 3 cards to choose from, and I'll give you a moment here, and then I'll see you all in your card readings. Hello, pile 1. So you all chose the student card, and this is the energy you're trying to move into. The other archetype cards will be the energy that you're trying to heal. So we have father, we have athlete, and then these cards next here are what you're needing from yourself to heal this. So it says relationship patterns, look to your inner strength. And then we have speak the language of love. Sorry, the sun is kind of right at the wrong point now. Okay, and then we have advice and guidance cards. So we have visualize a shield of protection, be a comfort to yourself, meditate on the spaciousness of air, and nourish your body. So right away when I'm seeing you are healing through, I want to say it is quite specifically a brotherhood wound or a father wound. So here it says an abuse of power, dictatorship, control. And I feel like there's a lot of expectation, micromanaging, and I feel like there was like an emotional disconnect. So I almost feel like there was a lot of verbal, verbal abuse or harsh words used, or just, I don't know. I feel like I can almost see like frustrations were put on you. So I do think it probably literally would have been from your father, or it could even have been like a grandfather. But whoever it was, I feel like you had quite a bit of daily contact with, and it did. I am seeing, like, I think you almost learned some relationship patterns, as it says here, that are kind of destructive for you. So it's almost like the energy I'm seeing is, and I wonder, and always take only what resonates and just totally leave the rest, of course. I almost see like maybe your mother was a bit codependent, and she may have attracted in a type of narcissistic personality. Doesn't mean that they were a full-on narcissist. I actually also think that if this is the case, I think they would have been, I can't quite remember the right word, is it malignant narcissist? Like someone who is often always playing the victim, everything's always not working around them. That's more the energy I feel here or see here. But you know what? And it's also so confusing because I feel like there is some really great moments with your parent or your father, and then I feel like there was a lot of eggshell moments. So it's like super confusing and disorientating, and maybe you even had a hard time with healing this wound growing up because you can think and see so many great moments. Like I almost see that maybe your dad sometimes took you literally outdoors and like would do really connective things with you, and then on the flip side could be like very hostile, very chaotic, very controlling. And it's almost like I wonder if they did have a problem with alcohol sometimes, but only sometimes is what I get. So I feel like it was just very turbulent and not consistent upbringing. That's what I'm getting. And when I see this student card, I see so much about the family tree here. So I wonder if you are healing some old family patterns. So that's why I say, I wonder if your mother, I think, could have been codependent. And I think you might have learned those adaptive behaviors. So relationship patterns, when I see what you're needing to heal from this from yourself, it's almost like identifying what's the word, destructive relationship patterns. So I wonder if you're starting to learn the red flags, you're starting to see what's not serving you in these relationships. And anyways, I should also talk about this athletic card. So it says dedication to transcending physical limits, including handicaps, development of personal willpower and strength of spirit. So this is talking about trying to call in personal strength and inner strength, and standing up for yourself, like personal power. So that's really interesting. So yeah, I do feel like there's probably been some poor romantic relationships and maybe even friendships. And another thing you can't help but notice here is all these cards, there's like a little person looking at another person. So it's almost like instead of taking attention towards others, like redirecting your attention towards yourself. Same thing here, looking at a little dragon, looking at a person in a bubble. So I almost feel like there's a need to connect with your inner child and its wounding and what's going on within it, that it keeps attracting in these tumultuous relationships, controlling relationships. You might have really bossy friends, you might find really bossy co-workers or bosses. Like I think this is like a pattern that maybe is kind of like you found in a lot of places. So asking the inner child, your inner child, why it feels safe to have those types of relationships, and also asking what it would like to feel safe. And almost like I feel like you need to get to the root of why does your inner child feel like it needs to keep this pattern going? And I think you'll be surprised by the answer, because I really feel like this is specifically an inner child program and survival tactic that it's keeping in play. Because like this is, it always seems like kind of like seems like I'm seeing you as the adult now holding a mothering space for this inner child to be honest and real. And I think when you can see and truly hear from this part of yourself, why it's hanging on to it, you'll be able to release it. Because when I see look to your inner strength, I see this card come up because usually people are waiting to leave destructive controlling relationships until it feels easier. But the problem is it won't ever feel easier. It will never, like, these types of relationships are like drug addictions, I find, because there's such highs and there's such horrible lows, and there's withdrawals when you cut them out of your life. There's horrible withdrawals. So you need to really be aware that it's not going to be easy. You're going to go through a withdrawal like anyone who's addicted to some form of drug does, and or substance. It's exactly, honestly, it's exactly the same. And I almost see you needing to know why you keep going back. What fear or belief or program is running in this inner child that you, once you start to feel these withdrawal symptoms, go back. And it's going to have some correlation with, I would say, your father and your family life, or even what you saw maybe your mother do and when she went back, or the things she put up with. It's not going to be easy at first, but I feel like once you get past that initial hump of the initial withdrawals, there's a lot of clarity that will come into you. It's almost like, honestly, the drug analogy is just so perfect, because it's almost like once the withdrawal is gone, people can see more clearly like the effects it was having on their body, the things they did that weren't aligned with who they were to their loved ones that they aren't proud of, how they might have treated themselves, and maybe how they want to treat themselves better, and how they want to value their bodies better and care more for themselves. Like, it is such a great correlation, because they're both sort of brainwashy and hard to see the whole truth until you're out of them. So here it says you are stronger than you realize. Just really knowing that you can do this. And you just keep saying it's so important that, you know, if you keep waiting for when it will be the easiest, you'll be waiting a long time, because it will always be like a drug. You'll have to go through that withdrawal. You'll have to go through that discomfort, that unknown, that I think is what you're not wanting to experience. So it says, speak the language of love. Loving words have the power to change lives, including your own. And I think this is something that is just so important, because I feel like this is part of the thing that you can get hooked on in these relationships, is that they'll be so kind to you sometimes, and they'll say wonderful things that you never maybe even had someone really say to you. And I kind of get the impression that in your initial parents, I don't think they did say like, I love you, or did say very kind, complimenting things, that it almost just feels like this is what I've always wanted from someone who loves me. But it's very manipulative, the way that I think this romantic interest does it for you. Or whoever it is, I feel like it's romantic, because it's the only one that really can get their hooks in you so deep that you feel like you have to leave them, or live with it. I don't know quite how to explain that. But yeah, I feel like it's saying, like, if you can speak loving words to yourself, if you can change how you see yourself, then you won't need it so much from outside of you. You won't be looking for it in these people. So it says, loving words have the power to change lives, including your own. Yeah, and I really do see this card as like your inner child is so craving that approval from yourself, to accept yourself, to love yourself, to know that you are good enough. So this is the thing with narcissistic relationships, is people who are in them, who are a little more codependent, usually have very poor self-value. They don't see how amazing they are. They don't love themselves as much as they should. And that's why I think they deal with someone completely degrading them, and then love it, or feel like they need it, when they are finally getting the affection and the kind words they're so craving. And that's why it's such a roller coaster ride, is because they'll take the abuse, they don't usually leave, and then they feel like they need those few moments, those few highs to feel loved, to be accepted. But they just don't know better. Like, you just don't know better when your family system treated you like that and your role models did that. So it's really calling for you to be strong and do differently than what you saw and what your family tree history has, because this is very big. I feel like your family has had this pattern for generations, and you are able to break it if you like, if you're willing to be as strong as you really are. So The guidance and advice cards. You know what? The first one I actually want to talk about is this: be a comfort to yourself. So this is really talking about growing your own ability to self-regulate, to give yourself what you're needing. And I think that's why it's so important that you connect with this inner child of yourself, because you're going to be surprised at how much you think it's seeking your own love, your own acceptance, your own self-love. It says, comfort is an inside job. Speak to yourself in a loving, positive way. Do something that nourishes you. Know in this moment all is well. So, really big theme that's come for all the piles is just putting your own hand on your heart and saying, I love you. And I know this is so hard to do in some phases of your life. You might hate it, it might make you mad, but I've come to realize in my own journey that if something really makes me mad and triggers me, it's probably because I have so much resistance to it, because there's a wound there, there's a hurt there. So I remember when I was younger and I heard people say like self-love and say you love yourself, it actually made me very angry. Made me so angry, and I didn't even understand it. But now I realize it's because I could never say those words to myself. And that is just what made me mad, is that I couldn't say something that someone else was saying so easily. And they were trying to say it was so easy to do, when it was so against my nature when I was younger to say things like that to myself, or even think I was worthy of that. So I really understand how hard and irritating it can be to have someone say that. But now, years and years later, I can say like, wow, I was really wounded. And that's why I struggled with that so much. But now there's so many resources out there to help you understand things like this and your resistance, so you don't feel crazy, so you don't feel like it's supposed to be easy when you're struggling with it and then makes you feel worse about yourself. Like, there's so many resources. And I would really recommend for this pile, if you haven't already checked out some podcasts about narcissistic relationships, codependency. It's really important to look at both, because sure, it's really important to understand that high and low thing that goes on with narcissistic relationships, but it's also important to understand why codependent people are the ones who are drawn in and stay. It talks about really being aware and in control and accountable for your own part and being attracted into those relationships. It does not blame you for them, but it brings clarity to yourself, which is super important if you want change. So understand how you attracted something in, but also learning how to sorry, I kind of got lost in thought. I thought too many thoughts all at once and then I just like poofed. Sorry, but also like learning how to have tools to get out of a current narcissistic relationship you might be in. So visualize the shield of protection. This is super big because most people are codependent or extremely, extremely attuned and aware of all the emotions of the people around them. It's a survival technique. So putting yourself in an energy shield, it can be a bubble, it can literally be like this shape, it can be a pillar, is super important because it helps you feel less overwhelmed. Your nervous system, I can already tell, is super overwhelmed by all that's going on. And it also helps you realize how much chaos and emotions that are kind of destructive and gross out there aren't actually your own, and they won't stick to you. So that's the difference. It's not that you won't feel other people's emotions. They can't stick to you and hang on all day. So it says, to protect yourself from toxic people or situations, imagine a shield of white light surrounding your body. This keeps negativity out and lets positive energy in. Super good. I think this is going to create a lot more peace in your life. It's just one part of the step, but it's amazing how much this is going to help for people who kind of are always ready and walking on eggshells and perceiving things 700 steps before anyone else. And I just am really tuning in now to how exhausted your nervous systems are. So I don't know if you've been feeling really drawn to adrenal support kind of things, like maybe stopping to drink caffeine for a little bit, having too much sugar, giving your body some rest, because wow, as soon as I went into that like nervous system, I felt insane. Adrenal, I think it's called adrenal fatigue. Yeah, I think that's what it is, going on just from like always being on, which is another thing they'll talk about in narcissistic relationships and in codependent people, because it does take some healing. If you're crashing a lot, if you don't feel like you have a lot of energy, if you're always exhausted, it's a really important thing to look at and take care of yourself there. I think I already talked about that one. Nourish your body. Wow. Well, that's a perfect follow-up on what your body is needing from you. If you are tired, rest. If you are in pain, pamper yourself rather than pushing through it. Treat your body as a precious friend. Listen to its needs. So it's really saying, like, remember that your body here is working alongside you. It is not working against you. It is not your enemy. It wants to help you all it can. But if you've pushed and pushed and pushed and ignored for so long, it eventually, like a reliable car, will eventually crash if you don't tend to it and do daily maintenance or regular maintenance, like changing the oil and things like that. So it's just really calling you, I feel like, for this pile, to remember that your body is working with you. It is not the enemy. And if something is really going wrong with your health, it is a very, very like desperate attempt from your body to get you to pay attention to it, to get you to nourish it, to nourish yourself, to honor yourself more and prioritize yourself more. And I think that's the problem in our societies. We usually look at our bodies as working against us, but instead it's tried so hard to fulfill its desire to serve you that it can no longer keep running. So don't push yourself too hard and listen to what it has to say. I feel like this can go even deeper, but this is just like a short little reading, so we'll leave it there. Okay, meditate on the spaciousness of air. When you are stuck, picture yourself in an open, airy space with room to move and breathe. Let yourself feel free and empowered. So another big theme around empowerment and feeling free and capable. And this one really stands out to me because I feel like a lot of people I see who are stressed feel like the weight of the world's on them. They like their shoulders are more rounded in, they just look heavy. They look heavy. And this is calling on you to just like, if you catch yourself doing that, I see you, like, visualize you just all whipping your hair around, but not too hard, because I feel like some of you might have some neck pain and you don't want to like pull your neck. But just like knowing you can take up space, that's a big thing. You are free to take up as much space as you want in the world, and you're not taking it up. It is your right to have space in this life, to have space in this world, and you don't need to make yourself small so that you are the least problematic, so that you are the least likely to bother someone. You deserve to have as much room as you want, to take up as much room as you please, to drive as slow as you want on the roads. It's totally like you have a right to be just like everyone else does. Don't forget that. Really big theme here. Okay. I know I was saying these readings are just short, but I hope this just brought a little bit of confirmation or a little reminder that you might need. Really, really do encourage this pile to look into some podcasts around narcissism and codependency. I'm sure you can Google it. I know tons of people have recently been redoing narcissistic podcasts lately. Like, it's crazy. Some like spiritual podcasts that I listen to that don't normally even talk about stuff like that are doing things on it. So I know Christine Hassler has a ton. I love her. She's a very empowering self-help and life coach. Danica Patrick did one. She does all sorts of different spirituality podcasts. She did one on it. Who else is there? Almost 30 did one recently, and I can't remember the other. But anyways, there's lots. There's so many resources out there. And I always just trust that if you Google it, the one that is right for you will come forward. Okay. I'm trying to think of anything else I have to say to you all. I think that's all I have. Okay. Best of luck. Okay, you've got this. Look to your inner strength. That is like the thing I have to say. And I know how hard it can be to get out of narcissistic relationships. I know the feeling firsthand of like that drug, that drug feeling. But I'm telling you, is like, if you find your reason why you don't want to keep living in that relationship, even in the low parts, even in that withdrawal stage, that part of you that is strong, and you have been strong to make it as far as you have, will make it through. And you will, like, my experience was feeling like this. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so free and I can live my life however I choose. And you can do that too. So just know, like, if I'm here talking about this, and most people have no idea that I ever had relationships like that, because mine now is so the opposite of that. It is possible for you too. I am not an exception to the rule. I'm not an exception to how these types of relationships can only ever be that type. Like, you can have this too. Just know that. Okay, you've got this. You've got this, you got this. Go listen to some podcasts. They're going to make you feel really empowered. You're going to make you feel really validated and heard, and you won't feel crazy. Okay, you go crush your life because it's yours to live. Hello, pile 2. So you all chose the Goddess card. Very beautiful. It says the feminine expressed through wisdom, nature, life force, and sensuality. Okay, so let's see what you're healing through right now. We have Scribe as another archetype card. It says preserving knowledge and information. And then your third one is Virgin, which means maintaining symbolic purity of heart and spirit. Okay, you know what? I'm going to put all the cards out before I get more into what is going on here. We have turn on your heart light. Appreciate this moment. Focus on love. And then you've actually got quite a few advice or guidance cards. And it says, you can handle this. Practice self-compassion. Slow down and self-soothing. Okay, so I'm just going to take a second to tune in a little bit deeper into your energy and what is going on for y'all right now. Okay, so I'm hoping as I chat a little bit more about this will start to click a little bit more for myself. Often that will happen in these card readings is I'll get more information as I literally just keep talking. Things that I notice right away is I keep noticing like this hand on heart that's in a lot of these cards. It's down here, and I know this one technically isn't, but it's right in front of the heart. So I feel like right there it's telling me there's a huge, huge theme around heart healing. The Goddess card to me is sort of the opposite energy. So I've been seeing the cards that you've been choosing for each pile more as the energy you're calling in or moving into. So it's a great sign because it means you are healing through it, and this is the energy you're trying to enter into. So Goddess, I see like very open, heart-centered energy here. Nothing blocking it. It's very like nothing guarded, nothing defending itself. It's just very like, this is me, this is who I am, and loving themselves for it. So where I'm getting a little bit confused is the exact wording on what exactly it is that you're healing through. I don't know if it's a little bit of a self-love and self-acceptance of your authentic self block, but there's almost like another facet to it. It is that, but there's like something else going on here. I don't know if it's a mother wound or a sisterhood wound. Or it could also be a brother wound. It's whatever gender you identify as. I would say the wound that you're trying to clear is the wound with the same gender as you identify with, because there's like a little more than that. It's almost like why did you feel the need to not be authentically yourself? And I feel like this is kind of the wounding it's talking about. So when I see this Scribe card, I was really drawn to the words. It says like altering one's work sort of to fit in. So I kept seeing this as altering who you are to fit in with the environment you were in. And turning on your heart light, when I see that card come through, it really tells me it's about turning back on who you are and reconnecting with who you are in your heart. Because if we've had to pretend to be different parts of ourselves or versions of ourselves in groups, whether it was for our own protection or to make it maybe get financial support that we needed, whatever it was, whatever the reasoning is, sometimes we can lose sight of who we really are and what is really us. And when I see the heart connection, I see that as really a call to connect again with your truest, authentic self. So it's really interesting. Lots of heart connection development. So to help you through this, this was the whole purpose of the card reading, is to ask, how can we support or get advice for you to help you through this healing? I should actually first talk a little bit about the Virgin card. When I see this one, it usually tells me a return back to one's like innocent view, one's truest self, because I see us all being this, maybe until it's different for everyone, but for a lot of people, I see it more as like you were there around the age of 8 to 12, and then you started to change to adapt to the environment around you. So when I see this card come through, I see it as returning back to that very compassionate, open-minded version of yourself, where I feel like there was compassion for others before you had to feel like you were on the outside and change. I hope that makes sense. So I just see this as like returning back to that energy you once had when you were young. So appreciate this moment. Focus on love. Look for good in everyone. This is so interesting to me because I see like this dragon isn't necessarily the cutest or prettiest looking dragon. And I think that's like a great imagery for this card on just really talking about I think it's even talking about other people's wounding. Some people can seem really crusty and kind of gross on the outside, but when you have like these genuine connections, sometimes you can see past that protective layer that they've developed to make it and survive in their own lives. This doesn't justify inappropriate behavior or boundary breakers or anything like that, but there's just like a call. It's saying like, if you found yourself really seeing a lot of negative in situations, this is a call to kind of flip that, to return back to like who you are. I think that's what I keep seeing, is you at your essence is someone who did have compassion for others and did see I almost want to say like you could see why people were the way they were. Like you could see why they might have had those crusty layers. But after being injured or wounded or outcasted or bullied by these types of figures, you eventually changed who you were. So I really feel like there's so much of a call back to who you once were and being in a place now where you have the wisdom gained from your life. Like I feel like you now know, you can see the compassion and the beauty in others, but you also know when they're not aligned with you and when they're pushing past your boundaries in an unhealthy way. I don't know. I also feel like for this pile, you're probably really good at making people feel comfortable. Like I feel like it could be your adaptability and how you've been in past situations. Some of you might identify a bit with being a bit of a people pleaser, like with I don't always like using that word either because I feel like it kind of sounds really bad. I mean, it's obviously a bit of a self-destructive habit, but I feel like it comes from people wanting to just take the burden of a tough life off of people. So you feel like when they say people pleaser, I feel like it sounds like a really gross word and I don't love it. But unfortunately, when I say it, people can usually understand what I'm trying to convey. So yeah, usually when I, like I say, see it, I just see someone who is very tenderhearted, very compassionate, and very adaptable. So I almost wonder too if there's like a need to see like the strengths in what you have done, because maybe you've been hard on yourself and only have seen maybe like the negative light of it. And maybe that's why I'm even talking about it now, is maybe there's like a need just to see like, okay, it served me then. It has this as its advantages, but there is also these disadvantages, and that's what I want to move away from, because disadvantages didn't outweigh the advantages or whatever it is that you're going through, because I feel like you know all this already. You know this all already. Okay, so practice self-soothing. This is really coming up, and you can handle this. Actually, you know what? These advice cards are definitely directly correlated with someone who can feel a little anxious sometimes around people who are upset or not happy in a situation. So if people are not emotionally regulating themselves and you're around them, I feel like your natural inclination is to comfort, soothe, or make better the situation. And I see these advice cards coming through as advice cards on you to not get emotionally attached to the outcome of that person's emotional state. So another way of saying that is this is advice so that you don't get dysregulated when someone else is dysregulated, and you don't forget who you are in trying to make the situation better for that other person, sometimes consequential to your own health or your own emotional state. So the practice self-soothing and slow down. I feel like these are like step ones for you. When I see this, it's almost like just taking a second. You don't have to say anything to the outside world. Just I find it so helpful to put a hand actually on your heart, because that really, if you're overwhelmed, there's nothing more effective to getting you back into the moment as if you're touching something to draw back your focus to whatever it is you're touching. So if you're touching your heart, or your chest, I should say, and you just connect there, and I feel like there's like that self-soothing of breath for this pile. And I mean, it's a very common message coming up for a lot of people, because breath is what we can do to instantly calm ourselves if we're in an anxious state. I'm sure you've all heard this before, so it's just probably a reminder coming through for you to just connect with the breath and slow down. So if you're trying to figure out solutions, what can I do kind of mentality, just take a moment to slow down and let the thoughts just go before you decide to take action. So it says you have the power to comfort yourself when you are upset. Place your hand gently over your heart. Send yourself unconditional love to ease tension and frustration. So I really do get this for sort of that needing to comfort others and make them feel better. And then you can handle this. I feel like this is just some direct advice coming from your higher self, reminding you how strong you are and how capable you are. And I like how in this photo, this person isn't holding up the moon or the world, they're on top of it. So they're not crashing from the weight or the burden of this planet. And maybe just even a little reminder for you. You're on top of it, you're not underneath that weight. So there's a wise saying, you are never given more than you can handle. Tune into your heart to reconnect with your strength. So this is also something you want to be careful with, because I don't want you to think you need to take responsibility of everything around you. That's not what it's saying. Sometimes it's even saying like it's just a lesson for you to remember that your self-regulation, what's going on within you, is the first focus and priority, because everyone is their best self when they are focused on their own health and wellness first. I'm sure you've heard all this. I'm so sorry. I feel like some of you are like, I hear this all the time. So it's just a confirmation or a reminder. Practice self-compassion. This is another big one I get for people who are very compassionate, very empathetic, and who have sort of, like I say, that people pleaser tendency, or that tendency to want to make a situation easier and better for others, usually without first connecting in with themselves, and it can lead to burnout. So practice self-compassion. See yourself with loving kindness. Acknowledge your growth as an empath and honor the person you have become. So this is definitely a message around don't be too hard on yourself. Sort of a pattern you see with people who fall into this, wanting to like just make life easier for others, is that they can be very critical of themselves when they're burnt out or tired or don't have the energy to do something. They can be very critical to themselves when they've taken on too much and then realize it, and then they get mad at themselves for having taken on too much, and that just kind of continues that sort of like self-frustration cycle. What else? Often, not a lot of energy left for yourself or your close relationships, I find often, which kind of adds to the draining and then also getting frustrated with self. So self-compassion is huge, because it's almost like once you've realized you fell into that habit or cycle again, don't beat yourself up further. You've already got enough going on. You don't need to put any more of that energy on yourself. Right? It makes sense. Here it just says to avoid burnout, don't do too much too fast. Going slower lets you appreciate the miracles of the moment and the richness of your life. It is interesting. A little message I'm getting here is that for some of you who are like, well, I get really bored if I don't have a lot to do, I almost feel like if you didn't take so much on, you would be able to say yes to those last minute things more often. Like maybe a friend was like, oh, do you want to have dinner with me? Often you could probably be like, I don't quite have time. Or if you do make time, you're going to stay up really late and sacrifice sleep. There's kind of like this, there's actually lots of last minute opportunities that come up. And having some space to be able to say yes to them doesn't ever hurt. And I think there would be some. Usually people who are very kind are very well loved, but often don't have enough time to spend a lot of time with their friends because of how busy they are agreeing and saying yes to other things. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's interesting that you kind of have two cards talking about slowing down and appreciating the moment. I was just realizing this. It says appreciate the miracles of the moment, and here it says appreciate the moments. Every situation is an opportunity to grow and find love. So this is a huge theme for y'all right now. I'm always try to tune in a little bit and be like, why is this specifically coming up? Yeah, okay. So just a quick answer that I got is for some of you is it's just like a focus on far future a lot or on past events. But there isn't, sometimes you can kind of forget that life is in the now, in the present, and it isn't like there is some good things to be aware of to plan for the future. But I think sometimes maybe this pile can get too far ahead in the future and the possible circumstances. And if you're always living in the future, sometimes there can be more anxiety. Sometimes, not always, but just sometimes. Yeah. So interesting. I feel like this pile, you're quite beautiful people. And it's interesting. I have met some women who really hold this goddess energy from coming out of what I'm seeing here that this pile is going through. So do know that it is possible to just be in a place where you're very aura and energy after going through a life of learning it, of just complete self-love, self-honor, and self-respect. And I think that's the journey this pile is on right now. And it's very powerful once you have this lesson in your energy field, because when you interact with others, men or women, you feel that and you teach someone, you show them a thing that is possible, and it can be unconscious or conscious, but people will notice it. They might put different words to it, but it's definitely very, very powerful. So I can just really see you being a powerful role model to people. And it's kind of funny. It's like, well, whenever you learn the lesson, like maybe it'll take you a couple of weeks from now, maybe it will take you years, whatever it is, it's like there will be benefit. Like your aura is gonna just radiate this deep self-honor and self-love. It's really cool to see. Okay, I know this one was a little bit short and sweet, but this is all I had for you, and I hope it helps you feel a little bit clearer, a little maybe better about what's going on. And yeah, like it was very clear on the slow down, connect with breath, connect with self before you feel like you need to say yes to a situation or take on maybe a person who's emotionally distraught. I can almost see that maybe you work a lot with people who might be in, I don't know, like maybe they work, I'm trying to ask here. I don't know. I feel like you just can work with people who are emotionally charged. Like maybe it's around some sort of event that is very big or meaningful for people in their life. Like, I don't know, childbirth, adoption, marriage. I'm trying to think of other big things. I even see it could be like approval for things. Maybe you're like on the end of if someone will get a loan, or if someone can get insurance, or if someone can get a job. Like it feels like high stressed emotions that you can deal with people, and I can see why that could get really exhausting for this pile when you take on so much pain that others are experiencing. So yeah. Okay, anyways, I'm gonna let you all go now. If you enjoyed this reading, I so appreciate it if you can leave a like or a comment. It really helps people get recommended this video, or whatever video you're liking or commenting on. Yeah, so I just really appreciate it. If you don't feel like it, I mean, that's all good too. You do you, and maybe I'll catch you around. Hello, pile 3. So you all chose the Child Magical. And so far, this has been the energy that everyone has been calling in, like whatever the card you're choosing by. So let's see what else you got here. We have Femme Fatale. We have Alchemist, which is an amazing card. I'll just tell you that right away. It's super amazing card to get in a healing through transformation energy reading. So this is awesome. That means things are changing and turning to gold, literally. So I hope you see the like awesomeness of that card coming through. Okay. Oops. Sorry, I'll do the guidance cards last. So then we have, oh my gosh, it's so funny. I had never pulled this card, and I think the last couple of readings, the like back of the deck card has come through. I don't know what that means, but it just seems really cool because it hardly ever happens for me with card decks. So I love you. These are powerful words. And I had pulled these cards for what you need from yourself right now. So there's a pretty clear answer. Act as if your partner is here. I get this card a lot in card readings. Okay, and receive with love and appreciation. And then the last one here is be authentic, which really goes with the I love you card. Okay, and then guidance ones, we have practice humility. Has a horse on it. Be lighthearted. So funny. Did you already get a card that said that? I guess authentic. I always feel like lighthearted and authentic can be very similar. Okay, release other people's emotions and ask for a dream for guidance. Every time I get this card, I feel like it hints towards Akashic records. I don't know why. To me, it's just super Akashic record vibes. I don't know if that was the intention of the artist when they made this card, maybe, but I just, every time I see it. So it really tells me working on karmic healing, working on, sometimes it could be generational patterns or woundings, ancestral patterns or woundings, sorry, karmic stuff, big stuff. That's what that means to me, really big stuff. Okay. So let's just, sorry, I'm just going to take a second to kind of like look at everything. So calling in, I kind of see calling in that magic, that innocent, very original view on life. And then Femme Fatale highlights the erotic energy of the feminine, opens heart when your dependency is rejected. Transformation of base motives goes into golden wisdom. Okay, so interesting. So for the card they put second, I keep kind of reading like maybe what you've been struggling to heal is the shadow attribute. So here it says attachment to money and power. And of course, there's nothing wrong with liking money or liking being, feeling and being powerful, but this is sort of talking about the shadow version of it. So please just remember that. So how I would see it, this could almost be like having lost your childhood. I want to say, it's so funny, it does say magical, but belief in magic and kind of seeing like that innocence, that like that beauty that kids have, that imagination, that connection to everything around them, and then going into, what is that called? Sort of the societal pressures and normalcies, maybe is the word I'm looking for. So I actually see this like being like very business office work orientated, hierarchy, very hierarchy kind of work, and kind of losing the joy and the love for life, for things that you used to love. So what would be a good example? Maybe just were very lighthearted and joyful, and you were a person who could bring a lot of lightness to situations. Maybe you could make people laugh. I feel like you could have been a bit comedic. What's the word? Playful. Just genuinely playful. Maybe you've lost a little bit of that. Yeah. trying to tune in. It's like I'm having a hard time tuning into what's going on. The other energy I'm getting here is like I just feel a general energy of seriousness. So it is a little bit of the opposite of playful. And it doesn't hurt to be serious sometimes, but it feels like over seriousness. Like it feels like it could be very stressed. You can be very stressed sometimes. And just, I keep getting back to just kind of lost that like seed of joy. And sometimes, you know, there is ebbs and flows, but I feel like you've just been in this environment for a bit where you're just sort of like, man, I lost like, I want to say like my smile or something. I lost like, I don't know, something in there. So trying to ask, why is Akashic Records coming up? Why? And there's such a calling to other people's energies really affecting you past the point of your realization. It's so interesting. I wonder if you followed in the footsteps of a parent. I think your job is different. Okay, I'm kind of getting clashing energy. So there's some of you where I think you're into the family business, and there's other ones of you where your family worked hard for you to get an education, go to school, and do a job that you kind of feel like sucks your soul out of you a little bit. It's kind of the general energy is whether it was family business or a parent working hard and kind of putting this expectation on you to be successful and to do this job. And doing it because you saw the sacrifice or the opportunity or the deep desire and almost like forcefulness that a parent had for you to go into the role that you're going into. I think that's where I'm seeing the release of other people's emotions, this heavy, heavy expectation. That doesn't even quite summarize it. I almost feel like they're showing me like kind of like the same pressure someone would feel like if someone were to come from a third world country, move to the US or Canada, the parent works like 2 jobs, 3 jobs. They don't have much of their own life because they are working hard for their child's education or opportunity to do better. Like that's sort of the imagery they're showing me for some. So it's like, it's beyond like an expectation. It's like this, it's almost like your parent put their life in your hands, or their life, they gave their life to you in some way. That's like the pressure it feels like. So it's really, really intense. I think this person, if you're watching this, sorry, I think you're a little bit older now though. I don't get the impression that I think you've been doing whatever job was expected of you for a few years now. Could be literally 3 years, and it could literally be a decade for some of you. But I feel like you've just like, it comes back to, you've lost that joy. You lost who you were because this job, like first off, the pressure from the parent, it feels so heavy and it feels kind of destructive. It's just, it was too much to put that much on one person and put that on you. Really, really hard. I can only imagine how hard that would be to carry that, and then also to just be doing something that so is into you. So I think this is why the Akashic record is coming up, because it's almost saying there is a karmic relationship between you and that parent that finds you in this like very burdensome role or job. I would maybe advise, I mean, I shouldn't really use that word. If you've been drawn to doing Akashic records or getting an Akashic record reading done, I definitely think it could help you clear up some of the karma in between this relationship, which might just make it feel a little bit lighter and easier. Also, I feel like there's just like, for you, would be very emotionally deburdening in some ways. It's almost like you would know why this pressure is here. I mean, you know why in this world, but this is so deep and so heavy. I feel like it goes into lifetimes. It's too heavy for just one life. And I really feel like there's some energetic work that could be released there. Just like I said, it won't solve all your issues in this lifetime, but it won't make it quite so heavy and burdensome, which I think just could not hurt the situation, feeling into it and how like intense it feels. Yeah. Do you want to move a little bit away from that? But yeah, definitely something to think about if you've been doing it. And it's interesting. I don't feel like this pile struggles for money. I think that maybe is part of the dilemma. I think you're doing quite well financially in this role. But like I keep saying, the joy is not there. It goes against kind of who you are. So maybe it's like the job involves you doing something that just isn't really you. Maybe you have to sell products to people and you don't really like it. Like it's like I don't think anyone's actually selling insurance, but it feels almost like that energy. Like you feel like you're selling something that you don't really want people to actually have to buy from you. You feel like you're selling, not like you're giving. I don't know. Hope that makes sense. If it's you, probably should make sense. So anyways, let's get deeper into. So we kind of really talked about what we're seeing come through that you're working through or trying to heal through and transmute through. And so the advice we had for what yourself is needing from you to get through this. I'm just going to put this one here. Sorry, the sun is like half on the thing, so it's like making some cards really dark and some things very bright. The biggest advice we have here coming through is that I'm seeing loving yourself. I almost feel like there's a forgiving yourself thing going on as well. And I wonder if it's a bit of that like complicated, knotted emotion around not feeling like you would be accepted or loved unless you did really good at this job that was pressured on you. And I think that's what's so tricky. I feel like I'm so sorry. Like I can just feel that I think you felt very conditionally loved in this life, very conditionally loved by your parents and your family and maybe even friends. And I wonder if even some of you have like a significant other where it also feels kind of conditional. Like they love you because of the income you provide or what like the stability you provide, but it's not even, you just feel like it's so not you that it feels devastating. And I'm so sorry you are going through this. This makes my heart hurt for you. So I really feel like it's all like saying I love you to yourself and just having someone hold space for you. I think that would really help. Oh, sorry, bad timing. My camera battery died. But I was just wanting to add in as well is this: be authentic, be real, and true to who you are and how you feel. I wonder if some of you have come to this realization. I wonder if some of you have done some therapy or some sort of some kind of work like that, some sort of support work with another practitioner, psychologist. Maybe it is just even someone who's like a life coach or a spiritual coach or a gym trainer. Like I feel like you've been talking to someone who has got you really reflecting on this and maybe even helping you feel a little more empowered to take action for change. But when I see this Be Authentic card, I wonder if there's this call to be honest, if you are in a romantic relationship, married or not, living with a person, like, you know, engage more seriously with someone. I wonder if there's like a need to let them in and let them know what's going on here. Because I feel like part of this burden is holding this all to yourself. And not having the people who are closest to you really knowing what's going on. So I really feel this strong. It feels like it's coming from your higher self, like this desire to have the burden a little bit lifted, to have less of it, to be freed of it. So act as if your partner is here. This card is so interesting because, like I said, it comes up a lot. And the biggest message that I usually get off of this one, when it comes forward, it talks about starting to like find, how would I say it? Like think and reflect on who do you want to be. And I think you have done that. So this might just be a validation or confirmation or a reminder for you is that, like say, if you want to be someone who's outgoing, if you want to be that person who can make people laugh again, if you want to be someone who wakes up and is excited for the day to go by or experience it, kind of like make a list and say, what do you want to be? Who do you want to be? What do you want to experience? And what do you want to come back to? And just start to create actions or habits that get you there. So I feel like there's a few steps here. Some might be having some conversations with some people that are a little vulnerable and can be a little bit hard to have. But I feel like in the long run, it's nothing. Like one hard conversation or maybe 10 hard conversations is worth your life enjoyment and happiness. And I just feel like where you're coming from, like I feel like you don't have much to lose. If you feel this sort of numb or defeated inside, it can only get better. It can only get better. So creating some change, and I really do feel like this coming back to who do you want to be? I don't see it so much as who do you want to be a partner to, but who do you want to be for yourself that makes you happy and excited? And I think there will be a physical list. So it says, whether you have someone in your life or not, act as if they are with you, so you will always consider them. And receive with love and appreciation. This card is so interesting. I always get so drawn into the birds around the head, and I always see it as a releasing something old, releasing maybe an old circulatory program in the mind, like a continuating thought or a looping thought or a belief that's always going around and around. So it says gracious acceptance is a way to show love. Yeah, I almost feel like this is letting in help, letting in those people. So this pile definitely has, I feel like, a secret that they need to unburden themselves from. That is a really big emotion. And I can see why sharing a secret is hard, but I don't see quality of life changing until you are honest about that secret with the people that are close to you. So here we see practice humility, approach life humbly. No one is better than another. Keep your ego in check. Humility is the practice of being simple and valuing simple things. So this is coming, I feel like this is sort of that comparative programming where it's not, I don't get this pile thinks they're better than anyone, but I feel like there's like this shame or guilt around not meeting other people's expectations. And this is coming up as a reminder in a guidance card that humility and humbleness is what's most respected amongst a lot of people. Not everyone, but a lot of people. And really good, caring, compassionate people really like truthful, humble, honest people. And I think you're one of those people. And you probably want to call in more people like that. And you almost feel like there's no shame too. There's no shame in and having humility. That's like a big message, I feel like. Being lighthearted, set your intention to be easygoing and playful today. Gift yourself with some carefree time to have fun. Yeah, easier said than done, but I wonder if you guys for this pile have a certain hobby or thing you used to do that you loved. Maybe it is playing an instrument. Maybe it's singing. It could be a style of dance. Woodworking, maybe even for some of you, like building certain things, maybe like Lego. I'm not super sure what it is, but I feel like there's like a childhood joy that's asking you to reconnect with. Maybe even making shirts or something, or quilts. Like it could be so random. Don't feel like it has to be one of those things. It's just saying whatever is coming up for you right away, take that as a confirmation to rekindle your affection with that. Go for it. Can't hurt. Release other people's emotions. I feel like this is release other people's expectations or perceived expectations on you. This feels like it weighs on you quite heavily. And maybe not always to the point that you realize. So it says, ask yourself, is this emotion mine? Exhale uncomfortable feelings that are not yours. They don't linger in your body, and inhale light and space. Yeah, super powerful. I don't think a lot of people realize everyone is naturally empathic. Some people are more attuned with it than others. So often we don't realize how much other people's stuff we have collected in our own auras and energy fields. So just having a daily practice of releasing that, literally just saying, I release anything that is not mine, and I call back all my power is super powerful. And you'd be surprised at a lot of the emotions that people carry, including yourselves, that aren't actually yours. They feel like yours because you've experienced that emotion before, but they're not actually yours. Okay. Trying to see if there's anything else. These are kind of like short and sweet little readings here. Like I said, I haven't done card reading in a while, and I was feeling a little disconnected myself, so I didn't want to do anything too long. I just wanted to keep it a little bit short and sweet for everyone. Yeah. So I don't know if I actually read this except for at the start. It says, seeing the potential for sacred beauty in all things. So belief that everything is possible. That is the energy you're trying to shift back to. And I like that it's fairies. I love that. And then when the person's in their shadow attribute of this energy, it's depression, disbelief in miracles. So I really feel like you're flipping around on this card and you're trying to get back to this beautiful, joyful, blissful, easygoing. I really feel like this pile used to love to make people laugh. I feel like you're going back to that. It feels like going back to true self for this pile. Yeah, transforming of base motives and goals into golden wisdom. Yeah. All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck, okay? I can tell that you can only go up from here, and you just need some honest conversations, I think. But you always just do what feels right for you. I feel like this pile already knows in their heart what's best for them, what's right for them. And I feel like you are just deeply desiring some honest conversations that won't leave you feeling so burdened by some heaviness, some secrets that you've been holding. So I just, wish you the best of luck. And yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. Best of luck. All right, everyone, this is just a little sound healing or sound bath at the end to help ground you, help you ground in the information you just received. So if you'd like to receive this, just close your eyes and stay tuned. It's only going to be about 2 or 3 minutes.